Oh, we're doing good. I'm just excited for these games. I think it's going to be a banger. Very excited to see them. Ooh, you got me muted, I think.
It's me. It's me. There we go.
We're both muted. Maybe? Are you
No,
just
you're
you?
you're
Okay.
muted. Just me.
Okay.
Just me. My it was on the wrong device. Anyways, the intro doesn't matter. We're getting into it. Rivals won against Hydro Bump Blacktip, who was previously undefeated. BLM picked up the win against DPH, who hasn't yet found victory in LXC Sentinel yet. Getting into the draft here. Rapid fire bans rivals, immediately banning out Drakenrich's Vex. BLM counters with a ban towards Salo's Victor.
Last week we saw a lot of bans being thrown Salo's way. Let's see if that continues.
It looks like that's the case. Mid lane, the pool is quickly shrinking between these two mid laners. Vex, Cassiopeia, Galio, all banned away by rivals. Victor, Oriana, and then the lone non-mid lane ban, unless these teams are really cooking, the Amumu. Rivals has the B1 pick. What do you expect here, Husky?
I'd like to see Big Rev get a pick here. You might want to pick Salo early, but not too early. Malachi's a great pick,
There's
and Big
that
Rev does a great
Maokai
job on
pick.
it.
Yep, Big Rev loves to pilot the Maokai champion. CB could definitely take it down in the bot lane as well. And it's a top lane flex, so Maokai kind of a do-it-all role for this Rivals squad. Be interesting to see how BLM counters. They're going to take away the MF from BK's, pairing it with a Jarvan. So really good team fight right off the bat for BLM.
Yeah, if you hit a big Jarvan ult, Misfortune right on top of it, can really wipe a team fight out. Let's see what Rivals is going to counteract with that.
We will have to see. I will say the Maokai makes the Jarvan have a little bit tougher of a time finding these engages, having to navigate through the saplings and of course that Maokai ulti as well. But that snap engage from Jarvan with the MF, if timed correctly, could
Ooh.
do wonders. But that's a great counter pick coming out from Rivals. That Braum shield gonna be saved primarily for that MF ult. Really good pickup by CB here for Rivals.
I have been there, and that's painful when you get a great ult and it's just negated by Braum. That sucks.
Oh, interesting. And a Tristana pick. Tristana, a champion that was played a ton in the mid lane. Haven't seen her recently since the new season started. And then, of course, the Ornn coming out for R3 for BLM. So BLM, it's all about hitting the R button. Braum does get a lot of value between the MF and the Ornn. Can choose which ult he wants to block. So it'll be interesting to see how CB navigates these team fights. But so far, I like both these teams' drafts. Both really strong. I'd say really strong pick for Rivals. Twisted advance from Maokai into a Braum stun from the passive. Tristana doing lots of damage. But we're just flying through the bans. Five, or
More
sorry,
more
excuse
mid
me.
lanes.
Yeah, more mid lane bans. So count them on your screen. That's five from the side of Rivals banned away from BLM and four by BLM. So mid lane is the name of the game. So this is like 10th best option, technically,
That
right?
Tristana doesn't look too bad mid right now, right?
Yeah, it doesn't. Good flex by Rivals if they are able to. I'm not sure what they've been cooking up. But right now it's the name of the game is BLM. Oh wow, it's just team fight, team fight, team fight. Everybody show up, hit your R's, we'll win.
Let's just Misfortune ult them to death. That's the type of team that I like when I play Misfortune.
I will say BLM's damage is lacking outside of that MF. I mean, of course, the Jarvan can build that bruisery style, but if the MF doesn't get ahead, could have a tough time cutting through the Braum and the Maokai. So that is something to note. I'm assuming the R5 is going to go mid. Look for something to round out the damage profile for BLM. On the flip side, Rivals picks Alawi, a BK special, but his Death Knight in the top lane going against that Ornn. Maybe he's learned a
If
thing or two.
BKs is playing that Alawi, we're gonna have something crazy going on.
Yeah, I don't think it'll be VKs. I don't know how they would manage to pull off that swap, but a good counter pick into the Ornn is especially good into Jarvan, right? Because if you're engaging on Alawi, that's kind of where Alawi wants you to be, on the tentacles in the ulti radius. So Really nice draft coming out for Rivals. Going to be rounded out by the Aurora. Good team fighter as well. And the damage profile, the team fight tools, the engage, the pick tools are all there for Rivals. Can definitely play this comp a variety of ways. Meanwhile, on BLM side, it really is just show up and hit your ultimate button.
They need some AP damage here. Annie. Okay.
Interesting.
Old reliable.
Yeah, the mid lane pool was definitely pitch. Aurora was, kind of like the standard for pro picks that was still left up on the board. Annie's going to be the answer into it. Now, I will say Rivals doesn't have a ton of range until Tristana starts getting those levels in the bank. But other than that, BLM's going to have to control the vision and just look to basically ultimate, the Tristana, the Alawi, or the Aurora. I think Rivals has some tools to kind of deal with that, to mitigate that ability to happen. The Braum shield is one of them, of course. Alawi has to get to the fight early and be there for when the Jarvan does engage. And then these champions that Rivals have, they're pretty slippery, right? Both the Aurora and the Tristana have tools to buffer some of that CC from Braum Lives Matter. So it'll be interesting to see how these two teams go about these team fights and skirmishes.
I definitely like Rivals team comp. But, sometimes simple is the best way to do things in League of Legends.
Yeah.
BLM does not have anything complicated here. Everyone knows what they're trying to do, but can Rivals stop it? That's the big thing. When you only have to hit 5 R buttons to win, then it's pretty easy to execute that. So nothing too crazy there. Definitely, I think a little bit more options from the side of Rivals. You can always have a Lowy split push here. I'm not sure that, especially if she gets ahead, who's going to match her. They don't really have that much on BLM for that. So a couple different options. They have the great peel from Malachi and Braum on for their carries as well. But certainly not as simple as just pressing R.
Yeah, really, if they're trying to press R into the other team, it's going to have to be BLM getting caught out. The Malachi, of course, can make some catches happen with the was it tree line advance, whatever his ultimate
Twisted
is.
advance,
Twisted
I believe.
advance, yeah. And then there's some good ultimates from Rivals, the Alawi and the Aurora, but it definitely comes down to BLM has to be starting the fight first, and then I think Rivals is in a good spot. If Rivals has to find an avenue into a fight, they are kind of lacking engage, right? Maokai really the only main tool. Braum, great follow-up engage, but not necessarily the one to walk in and make something happen. I don't know.
It will be key getting there first, like you said, to those team fights. It's going to be hard to engage into a fight at an objective. They have to get there first.
It definitely will be. Looking at these two comps, it's hard to go against BLM Braum Lives Matter right now, undefeated currently in Sentinel. The one game that they have dropped was to drop in Point Hellfire, which was kind of a conundrum. DPH hasn't been the best team in the world in Sentinel, kind of vying with OSGA for the bottom of the barrel there, but it seems like it was a little bit of a hiccup on BLM's part. They won the other two games handily. Rivals has had quite an experience in Sentinel between a Blizzard week 1 and then a reverse sweep in week 2. So both of these teams are eager to get a win against some, I would say, proven competition between these two teams.
Yeah, I think BLM hasn't had the toughest opponents to date, but they beat who's in front of them. Rivals, on the other hand, hasn't looked the most amazing team, but they've looked pretty good. So I'm sure both sides want to prove that they're the top echelon of teams. And this is a good game for us to figure out where everyone is going to fall. We know these teams are good, but which one is among the best? We're about to find out.
Yeah, the only way we can have that answered is by seeing how it unfolds on the Rift, which is where we will be right after a quick break. We will see you then. Welcome back, everybody, to week 3 of LXC Sentinel Rivals on the blue side. Braum Lives Matter on the red. Both of these teams looking to team fight, looking to do things early. The Jarvan I expect to be a little bit more proactive than the Maokai here in the early stages of the game. Rivals looked like they were expecting a potential invade from BLM. It did not happen. BLM opting for the traditional 5-point. Looking across the board, Husky, do you see anything of note and runes, summoner spells? Seems pretty stock standard.
Yeah, everything kind of it looks standard, like you were saying. Misfortune does have first strike, so that's going to be the lethality misfortune. Makes sense given everything, but just something to note. It's not going to be the crit build.
I do have to wonder between the Braum, Malawi, and Maokai if the lethality MF doesn't get ahead early, might have trouble eating those champions down. Of course, you really only focused on the Aurora and Tristana. We were talking about the teamfight setup for BLM. The Jarvan ultimate kind of loses value with those two carries picked, right? They have tons of mobility, able to get out of the Jarvan ultimate even without summoner spells. So it's really going to be up to Drakenrich and Brute Souls on the Annie and Leona respectively to really lock down those two carries with that hard CC that they have.
Yeah, it definitely makes it harder. Good draft there by Rivals.
Both of these junglers started on opposite sides. Maokai going to be pathing away towards the Tristana Braum.
Like Jarvan is looking for a early gank here top. No, just throwing a ward down maybe. Sitting. Okay.
Yep, just seeing if they can catch out DK. Yeah, Director Camera really liked that bot lane for a while there.
It did. Jarvan clears top and recalls, by the way. That's
yeah, I was trying to get a cheeky
some different tempo right there.
Was trying to get a cheeky level 2 or level level 3 on the top side. Maokai actually stealing away the blue buff, and Jarvan went straight for his wolf, so this should be an easy steal for Big Rev, has the smite available.
Yeah, the problematic from Kama getting caught on Death Knight's vision, so they know he's not there. Easy steal for Big Rev.
Yeah, so we saw what Big Rev can do when ahead in tempo. Game 3 against HPB was up like 40 CS as an Amumu into the Zac, and that game was a one-sided stomp for Rivals. Do I expect that to happen here against maybe better competition in BLM? No, but the tools are available. Big Rev up at least the camp so far. Jarvan coming towards mid, but pings from Rivals. Sensing that gank. Aurora hovering that top side. Should be safe.
All the lanes going pretty even right now, except top lane. A little bit in favor of Death Knight.
Yeah, about a wave up, 6-7 CS. Good spot for the counter pick whenever you get it in the top lane to be carving out those leads. I don't think DK needed a TP there, though, so both rival solo laners will TP to get out early on the map. Not the end of the world because TP, the timer isn't as long as it used to be, but whenever you can avoid using that summoner spell, it's always good. Maokai sitting in this top brush. The
Jarvan is going to find him.
Oh.
I don't think either of them know that the other one is there at the moment.
Both of these junglers waiting a long time for a fight to develop here in this top lane. And they'll keep on waiting. Jarvan gonna opt to back. No, he cancels the back. It looks like Rev was sitting on a ward that entire time, so... Rev, though, has camps to clear, and Aurora is pinging onto the Jarvan, though I don't think it should really amount to anything. Yep, just going to mosey on back mid. So not a lot of action so far here, 5 minutes into this game.
Still no first blood. Not even anything really close to this point.
And my guess is we get a voracious Otacon with the way this game is slowly developing. I'm always a fan of the Devourer or whatever it is, the other one. But the GA one is alright. We'll be getting a change tomorrow with the new patch, but it hasn't come through today. Death Knight just
These
kind of
tanks
doing...
just hammering each other up top.
Yeah, just doing a lot of things, trying to bully the Ornn. I will say it's kind of interesting that Kama has spent so much time in the Ornn lane, or around the Ornn lane, I should say. TP's coming out. Will be spotted out by Big Rev. Big Rev is going to be forced off of the grubs.
Both
Some
mid
action
laners
developing
are
here.
rotating.
Drakenrich had already used the ultimate. That's a first blood to DK, and it looks like it's going to be another. That's 2 kills for Death Knight on this Alawi. Going to secure that last grub as well.
That was a good team fight for Rivals right there. Aurora with the nice ulti to make sure that they couldn't get away. When you can't get away from Alawi, you're in for some bad times.
Apologies for the overlay, but we're back. Just gotta make sure this works. There we go. So quick 2-0 lead for Death Knight. He was already up in CS as well, so this Alawi, if not checked soon, will start to run rampant against this Ornn. The bottom side CB playing extremely patient, trying to see if Leona will get caught out. Looks like they sense Kama is in the bot lane, and we'll back off.
No one from the bot lane has backed at this point. 7 minutes into the game.
I mean, if you can just keep farming, why not, right? The dragon looks like is the next objective for the eyes of BLM. Meanwhile, Rival is heavily playing on this top side. The Ornn without flash means that it should be an easy kill for Rivals. I don't think their bot lane's going to stick around for that dragon. The Twisted Advance comes through. Ornn immediately rooted up. Salo has plenty of damage with the crew, so that will be Feats of Warfare secured by Rivals. A great ultimate from CB the Barbarian should
Ooh.
let Rivals
Interesting that
escape.
they even went, yeah, interesting that they even went close enough to have that happen. They knew they didn't have numbers, so
Yeah, just trying to see what could they could get out. I will say both the summoners used by Brute Souls is kind of a win for Rivals, only having to use CB's flash. Now I will say I don't think it was well advised that they were there in the first place, because they were making plays on the top side of the map, but it's Sentinel League, things like that happen. Looking at this gold lead, 3-0 lead for Rivals here. Nets them about a 2,000 gold lead, we'll call it. Rounding up, of course.
definitely top side of the map is where all the gold is for Rivals right now.
Yeah. And now you have your first your first bot lane backs coming through. A BF sort for Tristana and some change. Meanwhile, MF, like you said, that lethality build picking up the serrated Dirk.
She definitely could have used that when she was ulting earlier, but didn't have it. The ult didn't do that much when all you had was a Dorrance.
Rev will spot out Kama, immediately goes in despite Brute Souls being there, trying to get Kama to engage onto him with CB in tow, but Kama plays it smart, gets on out of there. Salo playing aggressively into Drakenrich. Drakenrich has the ultimate available and the stun. Salo takes a ton of damage, forced to ult for the escape. CB is here, so the bear will go down, but the damage is done. Salo probably gonna have to back.
Looks like he's going to try to stay for that wave.
It does get it. Yeah, with the early roams from Salo, Drakenrich has developed a nice little CS lead. Looking at the individual gold lead, about even, because despite the CS lead, Salo does have that KP. In the top lane, you have about a 1,200 gold lead in favor of Death Knight. Big Rev has been able to secure a nice lead of his own. As the ultimate comes through, we have another fight. Immediately engaging on a combo. Combo just taking him out with no response. Brute Souls will be the next to fall. CB is here. Big Rev as well. Going to be slowed up by the Braum Q. And that should be a Leona going down. The kill will be gifted over to Salosin.
Interesting from BLM right there. With Drakenrich, he did not rotate, instead electing to get a tower plate during that trade.
Yeah, and just, you know, some hiccups, a little bit of miscues around this grub objective. The first set of grubs Drakenrich had already used his ultimate. It wasn't available for a fight that BLM opted into. They ended up losing that fight. Of course, it was used quite a bit earlier this go around, so you can't really blame Drakenrich, but you can blame him for not even rotating. And so the grubs 4-2 in favor of Rivals. And basically all this gold lead has been because of BLM's miscues around that objective. Oh.
Looks like we do have a pause. Drakenrich is lagging.
What's a Rivals game without pauses? I am going to throw it back to us. I was advised that during pauses you probably shouldn't leave the screen open because people can go and get map information, see like actual gold and stuff like that. So
smart. Jeez, I wish I thought of that when I was playing.
And of course, everybody wants to see you, Husky. You are the star of the show.
Oh, you know, it took me 40 years to look this good, so
there you go. Aged like fine wine. Well, so we could talk a little bit about what has transpired so far in this game, as it looks like we're going to be going right back into the swing of things. Of course, we will be met with a little bit of spectator delay coming out of this pause.
Yeah, Rivals has done a good job. Certainly, I think DK in that top lane has been the major catalyst for them so far. He's wasted time from Kama. He's been able to bully Tiny Fists of Fury. He's been able to rotate and help the team twice inside the Baron Pit, where they've won 2 team fights. That's where it's all started. Certainly, you know, other people have done a good job as well, but he's been the big difference maker thus far in the game.
Yeah, the good rotations off of early shoved waves from Death Knight, able to make sure that those grub fights go their way. We saw the power of the Maokai and the Alawi as well, as we await a little bit of a delay. Okay, there we go. Big Rev off to a hard start, being able to steal away that blue buff from good vision from DK as well. So, like you said, this top side has been doing wonderfully. An early Yuntals for BK is going to be able to stack up that passive nicely. This is a greedy back from MF and actually going to be stopped.
Yeah, that's going to hurt. Good find there by CB.
Yeah, that means Stoic will be backing as this dragon is set to come up. The Mountain Drake coming up in 20 seconds. MF instead got to stay, but that means that the item advantage will be in favor of Rivals should they choose to take a dragon fight here.
Ornn does have TP available for this fight. Alawi does not.
Going to be imperative the Death Knight communicates that with his team, because of course, if the Ornn TP's away and Rivals backed off, you know, it's only second Drake for BLM, and it could result in a tower for DK with these grabs. Drakenrich wasn't quite spotted out, but was chunked. And Drakenrich isn't able to find a way out of the fight. What a great play! Use of Blast Cone from Big Rev. Gonna catch out Kama immediately with no response. Brute Soul is gonna be going down in the process, flashing away to try to save himself. Does save Stoic, but the damage has been done. Jungler and support for BLM taken out. That's going to be the Mountain Drake for Rivals.
Yeah, well, when BLM made this comp, it was, you know, front to back team fight, and they keep getting caught in weird positions. You know, 2 people here, 1 person there. If you're not fighting front to back all together, this team comp doesn't have a chance to win.
Yeah, and I will say, like, it would be different if... Oh, the flash from DK netting a kill. The solo bolo. Ornn has not been having fun so far. It's 8 kills to 0 for Rivals. And I will say, it's not like BLM scales very much. You do have the Ornn, you have the ornaments, of course. But Stoic going the lethality build. Really, the mid game is where that MF build wants to shine. And if you're getting put behind early, Kama's going to fall off on the Jarvan, you know. Leona's going to lose value with the presence of the Braum in these team fights. And then all of a sudden, it's going to be a lot of pressure for Drakenrich to carry. And he's been CSing extremely well, but he just hasn't been in fights.
Yeah, 0-0. I mean, he has the Dark Seal, but you got to do something if you want to stack that Dark Seal, man. Can't just stay on lane and farm.
Looking at the items coming through, the Black Cleaver going to help the Alawi continue to put pressure onto the Ornn. The Unending Despair, apologies, coming out for Maokai. You don't see it typically rushed that often anymore, but I guess Big Roves knows something that we don't. Getting a lot of value out of that. The Thorn, not the Thorn Mail, what is it called? Bramble Vest coming out as well.
Bramble Vest, yep.
The Gunblade is what I will always call it, but the Luden's Companion out as Brute Souls engages, but I don't think this is engaged that Brute Souls wants to take. BK is doing so much damage, will be stunned up, but the MF ultimate goes wide. BK's gonna have the W reset, will find his way out. A great flash, forced to full flash, and ult does eventually get the shutdown. So all in all, a 2-for-1 trade in favor of BLM.
I think it was a good engage knowing that your Jarvan was there. Certainly they don't win the 2v2, but luckily for them it wasn't a 2v2.
It was not. And then in the mid lane, we just saw kind of a randomly used ultimate from Drakenrich. Maybe this pinched pool is making some questionable decisions manifest themselves on the Rift. There were 9 mid laners banned between these two teams. So we'll have to see how Drakenrich pilots this champion. Obviously not his first, second, third, fourth, or fifth choice.
J4 looks to invade, and Rivals looking to collapse mid.
Yeah, and you know, we haven't talked about it much, but this tower about to go down on top lane means that the feet will go, I say top lane, but it's going to be mid instead. First turret goes down. That's going to be feats secured by the Rivals squad.
Looks like it's going to be both turrets down.
Yeah. What's interesting is that there's only 2 epics that have technically been slain between these two teams, because both times the grubs got split up. So it's going to be 1 drag apiece. Of course, feats have already been secured, so it really doesn't matter that much. BK is willing to trade into Stoic. We'll jump out. Going to catch that wave down on the bot lane. Stoic does have a shutdown after a 20 CS lead has been gathered for them, but it just BLM hasn't done much on the map thus far. Rivals has definitely been the more proactive team.
Yeah, no, they have gotten 2 objectives first. They've won big fights when the whole team has been involved. But BLM definitely not out of it yet. It's only a 2,500 gold lead. That's nowhere close to insurmountable.
No, and especially with a good team fight comp, right? Like, if you're looking at BLM, you're down but you're not out, because it could just be a good Jarvan engage followed by an any that could really swing the tide of this game. But like we said, it just hasn't developed. They did have a nice play down bottom lane with Jarvan in tow. DK, gotta have to be careful here as 3 members of BLM have converged. But
Ooh, some nice find there with the blue trinket.
Yeah, and some questionable pathing means it's just an easy walkout. Death Knight not having to use anything. River priority has been ceded by BLM. Instead, Rivals going to be able to set up shop. Trying to walk into a Maokai with an Alawi in tow is going to be very hard. Now, Tiny Fist of Fury is here on the Ornn. If they're going to engage, BLM should pull the trigger because Rivals is split right now.
They are first to drag, but Aurora just pushing top right now. That's going to be a tier 2 for drag by the looks of it.
Yep. Big Rev looks like gonna be doing the smart thing, just backing out. I was curious to see if the Braum and the Tristana would try to pinch on the BLM members, but instead they're gonna push in this mid lane and then look top. So you're exactly right, tier 2 for Dragon, which is a big influx of gold, 700 gold for the team, and a good slice of that for Salo as well.
Rivals comp makes it difficult if they don't get there first, so instead of trying to force things, take the easy gold. It's guaranteed.
And there's that voracious Otacon like we thought. Drakenrich gonna be caught out. Gonna have to use the ultimate, but it only stuns up Salo, and Drakenrich goes down with really not a fight right before this voracious Otacon spawned. Now, of course, voracious Otacon, any Otacon does do damage. I don't suspect with the ultimates that were used from Rivals that they will start up that objective, but do have prio over it.
I also have an extra person up there right now, but it looks like Salo is going to back.
Yep, Big Rev's gonna hang out just to make sure that BLM doesn't start it. But I mean, look at how this bot lane is going for DK into Tiny Fists of Fury. There really is no rush for Rivals to pull the trigger on pretty much anything, as DK will be able to get advantages wherever the Ornn goes. $5,000 gold is the lead for Rivals here 21 minutes into this game. A 10-2 kill lead as well. Really the only hiccup was getting caught out by that Jarvan gank in the bottom lane. Death Knight will find the pull onto Tiny Fists of Fury, and that just should mean that the tower will go down here.
Yeah, Ornn is going to have to get out of there, or he's going to die as well.
Meanwhile, on the mid lane, CB might get caught out by Brute Souls here, engaging into the Braum. Not always the best of things. Flashing out is CB. TP immediately coming down from the Aurora. Kama gonna be taking a big chunk of damage from that E from BK's. Forcing the TP out of Salo is a win for BLM, all things considered.
Looks like Rivals pushing mid. Icon, that is the easy call right now.
And I was just saying it was a 5k gold lead. Now it's 6, and a numbers advantage secured by Rivals. Brute Souls sticking his nose where his nose didn't need to be sticking. That's going to be the Leona immediately caught out, and sights are turned onto this Otacon. BLM shoving down mid, but I think Rivals is more than willing to give a tier 1 for this buff. Of course, Kama is here. Otacon does so much damage, but I don't think Kama...
It would be just a steal if he is able to do anything, but it doesn't look
looks
like
like Kama's going to go for it. Going to be stunned up. Will be CC'd and dying. Rivals doing the smart thing, securing the kill onto the jungler before ultimately securing the Otacon buff.
Now 2 towers did go down from Rivals, so BLM got something out of that trade.
They did, but look at tier 2 and mid. All the focus was on the cross map, which is a smart thing to do, but the waves weren't in order for BLM, so that's just going to be a free tier 2 for Rivals. So all things considered, 2 kills, a tier 2, and an Otacon. I think Rivals is more than willing to give up 2 towers for that.
Absolutely, especially with this GA. Now is the time to be a little
Big Rev
spicy.
has engaged. You do have that GA. The ultimate does come out, but excellent use of the shield from CB nullifies that MF ulti. And I was worried coming in once we saw that there was going to be a lethality. Well, what kind of damage this MF could do? And you saw right there, it's not a lot when Braum is awake.
Yeah, as the MF, you kind of have to try to hold that.
They're engaging on a DK, but DK has the withdraw, so it's really only 200 gold that they're playing for, and DK with the ultimate really wasn't in danger. Instead, the tier 3. Oh, CB blocking out the Ornn. Rivals just making BLM look silly here.
Ornn ult down, Misfortune ult down.
That was Drakenrich too. Yeah, that's all ultimates from BLM. Voracious Otacon buff still on these Rivals members, and I imagine that they're just gonna try to brute force this tower down, knowing that they could just withdraw and get right back on the map. The TP coming through from Death Knight. 1 kill, so already secured by Rivals. Braum ultimate use, stunning up to Kama, about to fall. EQ's out, won't be found out by Rivals. Instead, attention turned on to Brute Souls. Brute Souls does go down. Stoic gonna be stunned up.
Oh,
BK's jumping in. He knows he has Otacon. I don't know why he flashed. He could have just W'd.
Jumped.
It's okay. He's off roll. But the damage has been done. 2 kills for nothing for Rivals. A tower and an inhib in tow, and Rivals making quick work of BLM in this one. A resounding lead 25 minutes in.
Yeah, that's now an 8,000 gold lead. That's how you need to play when you have that Otacon GA. Just full send. Let's limit test.
And it looked like they knew their limits rather well. Of course, the TP was used by Death Knight, but really nothing that BLM could do with the lack of ultimates available to them, right? We just went over. Everything was used, and so it was an easy push for Rivals. Rivals gets right back on the map. Gonna use that mid lane prio from these super minions to try to make some plays happen. I expect a 4-1 to develop with 4 members of Rivals on the bot side as BLM is busy shoving in the mid lane minions. Going to be an uncontested dragon for Rivals, bringing the drag score even to 2.
Not much BLM can do right now. They're going to have to try to get picks around the map.
Looks like the next play for Rivals is this Baron buff. Does not have the Otacon buff anymore. BK is taking an ill-advised jump. Ooh. If BLM was a little bit more confident, I think that Tristana was going down.
Yeah. She was in with no way out.
Whoa! Drakenrich TPing to his own turret in base. Kama going to be caught out by the ultimate from Big Red. Big Rep on a rampage. Jarvan taken down with no response, flashing out his tiny fist of fury, but BK's wants the fight. Ultimate used by Drakenrich does shut down BK's. Ult blocked by CB once again. Another shutdown going to Drakenrich. Drakenrich coming alive here. Getting 2 kills onto Rivals members. Make that 3. A shutdown on Big Rev going to Stoic. And CB just trying to stop the backs. I don't know, anything for fun. It will result in a tier 2 going down in the bottom lane, but Drakenrich, it took 27 minutes, but making his presence felt in that fight.
Yeah, as soon as he saw the Tristana, he ulted, got the stun, and basically just one-shot the Tristana. After that, not a lot of damage from the Rivals team, and I'll give BLM some credit here. They saw the last team fight. We saw CB block the Ornn ult. He blocked the MF ult. That time, he blocked the Ornn ult, and as soon as that was down and his shield fell, the MF ulted right away, knowing that he could not block that as well.
Good stuff from BLM. Now, I will say, it is about 5.5k gold lead for Rivals still here at this point. Their one hiccup, of course, that fight you just witnessed. I think going forward, Big Rev and crew really need to make the engages count on a Drakenrich and Stoic, because I don't know if Kama on this Jarvan really has much in the tank to really deal with a snap fight, right? Like, yes, he might get his ultimate off, but if you get rid of Drakenrich and Stoic, what damage do they have? And the answer is none.
They don't. The other point of that was Death Knight was not at that fight, so it was a 4v5.
Yeah, didn't have that TP available because he did use that earlier in the mid lane to break down the inhibitor. Kama found out by Salo, but really no damage. Rivals does have priority on this Baron. Death Knight making his presence felt in the bottom lane. They're trying to split the map. What will BLM do to respond? The Baron immediately started up while Salo waiting in a bush, looking up for Drakenrich. Drakenrich taking extremely low, under 50% health, but does have the ultimate available. CB, Big Rev, BK's in the pit. Kama hasn't done much of the Jarvan, but can make his presence felt in this game. Instead, Leona going to be stunned up. Leona be going to flashing out. Kama does get a good ultimate, but too little, too late. A great ultimate combo from Salo, and Death Knight eliminates the backline of BLM. And now this Ornn, oh man, to be an Ornn on your lonesome. Tiny Fist of Fury hasn't had fun at any point in this game. And why should that change 30 minutes in?
Now that time, Stoic unable to get the MF ult off. CB saved shield that time, able to block all of the damage. It makes a huge difference.
Yeah, a lot better of a team fight coming out from Rivals. The initial poke on a Drakenrich from Salo, basically forcing the Annie to where she really wasn't going to be comfortably fighting in that 5v5. And then Brutzel is kind of pulling the trigger a little bit early. Kama did follow up, but like you said, CB blocking a lot of that damage. A good use of the ultimate from Braum, that Glacial Fissure as well. And that's what we were expecting might happen in these team fights once we really looked at the comps that were drafted.
Now Braum has put in some big work to stop the Wombo combo from happening.
If Rivals is able to secure this Game 1 victory, it will be their first Game 1 win of this split here in LXC Sentinel. So breaking some patterns, being able to pick that up would be nice for Rivals. And I will say, I mean, it's been an extremely clean game. It looked like Kama was tracked pretty much the entirety of the early game, and then, you know, Big Rev, we've seen what he could do when he gets the tempo on his side. Drakenrich, of course, has been impressive, almost flame horizing Salo, but Salo has just been better in the fight, you know, on the map. He's been there first, and he's been doing damage. Drakenrich did, of course, have that great fight in their red side, but other than that, it's been all Rivals.
Yeah, 15 KP to 3. That's a pretty big difference, even if you have the CS.
Mid lane inhibitor goes down the sights for Rivals. Set on this top side, Big Rev using the ultimate to just zone to get that tower gone. Inhibitor will follow. Kama looking for a potential engage. Knows Big Rev doesn't have the ultimate available, but all the other tools for Rivals are. And this is just a slow march with the Baron up minions doing work on these towers. If BLM wishes to turn things around in this Game 1, it's gonna happen now. One tower goes down, another follows. The engage from Combat does come through, but oh my goodness, the BLM making work out of nothing, it seems like. But the extended fight is going Rivals' way. BLM does everything right. Everybody goes down, but it doesn't matter. Death Knight and Salo is all Rivals need to hold on, hold the phone. Will they close this game? They do.
Yes.
Wow, what a game from Rivals.
That was just wallet diff there at the end. BLM played it right. They got the MF ult. They got their Wombo. It didn't matter when you're that far behind, unfortunately, for them.
Yeah, and it was just too little too late for BLM. You know, they didn't really do much until that red fight, and then it was just the Rivals show up until then, and then that last stand. I mean, yes, they won the fight, but they couldn't withstand the minions and Salo having that stopwatch available just enough to close out that Game 1 victory. So Rivals picking up a Game 1 for the first time here in LXC Sentinel BLM. Going to be put in the hole 0-1, but it is a 3-game series. So we will be back after a quick break for Game 2 draft. I have a problem not unmuting the actual stream.
They
I
they
can't
just don't
give
want to hear your
I
introductions.
can't give CB crap anymore because I used to give him crap all the time. So I have plenty of time to do an interjection now because nothing was said. Uh, so game one went to Rivals pretty resoundingly. Did have a little bit of hiccup in the enemy red side, and of course, that team fight at the very end was not the cleanest, but it was enough to get the victory for Rivals in game one. My name is Righteous. I'm, of course, joined by Husky. Husky, your thoughts after that game one performance from both these teams?
I mean, I heard people talking about coach diff and draft diff. I don't know what you think about that, but certainly when you play for a team fight wombo combo and you can't execute a team fight wombo combo, you're going to have some problems. And we saw that. They needed to get ahead. They needed to get their carries some kills. And unfortunately for BLM, unable to do that early. And you saw what happens when you don't get your carries kills late.
I'm going to bring up the previous game's draft here we could talk about what was happening. The Leona, as a response to Braum, was curious. MF going the lethality build was also curious. And then the Jarvan lost a lot of value from the mobility of the carries from Rivals, of course. Tristana and Aurora really not going to be able to be locked down by that. The hard CC, the chain that we were hoping for from BLM was going to be the Annie followed by the Leona, and they got it. It happened once on that red side fight. Outside of that, Drakenrich was kind of a non-factor for a good majority of this game.
Yeah, I think if you look at the bottom there on the bands, you'll notice 9 mid bands. So both of these teams decided they didn't want to lose to a mid laner, and it was the rest of the team on Rivals that did a great job. Not that, Salo didn't do a great job, but certainly he wasn't the primary carry in that game.
Yeah, Silo did get onto the map a lot earlier and more often than Drakenwich was able to in game one. Of course, game two is the focus now, and we are into draft for game two. It looks like Jungler has been the attention for BLM now. Meanwhile, Rivals maintaining the mid lane bans. 3 mid lane bans. Of course, Annie hovered, not locked. Instead, going to be the Galio coming out as their third ban, and Maokai. So Big Rev pool has shrunk considerably. I imagine that Rev might take a jungler of his choice here at B1. We will have to see.
That makes a lot of sense. Sometimes when you
Oh,
ban mids, you're banning yourself as well. So
stealing away the Jarvan from Kama. Of course, Kama didn't have the greatest success on the champion. As you were saying, alluding to the fact that he only had 5,000 damage throughout the entirety of that game. Not what we want to see coming out of a Jarvan. We'll have to see if Big Rev can pilot it a little better.
yeah, Jarvan needs to get some early ganks off, needs to get a big lead. They were unable to do that, so Big Rev going to try to show them how it's done, I guess.
BLM taking a page out of Rival's book, picking the Braum away. Jarvan, of course, not a big Braum fan when going in, getting hit by a big block of ice, but we'll have to see how Big Rev handles that. BLM, a good pickup for them. Braum blind can be a little bit scary, though. We'll have to see if CB has any tricks up his sleeve for the bottom lane. And the second pick for BLM should be coming out, and it is a Kindred. Interesting.
Definitely a very different look than last time. The Braum definitely going to make you think twice before you take Misfortune here. It's a BK's favorite, but I would be surprised to see him pull that out with the Braum already picked.
Yeah, because has a diverse champion pool in his own right. Orianna, the tried and true pairing with the Jarvan, going to be locked for Rivals. So some good engage and team fight coming out of Rivals thus far, just between those two picks. I wonder if Rivals is going to opt to wait to pick AD and instead pick a counter and support here because the Braum was picked so early. We will have to see.
That does make a lot of sense. CB does have a pretty big pool, though, so he might not have to worry about getting banned.
Okay, interesting. Xayah going to be the choice for BKs. A little concerning for me because, of course, Ori wants to go in with the Jarvan, of course, with the ball wombo combo. Xayah's not really a champion that can follow up that much. Instead, wants to play into an engage chomp, and BLM doesn't have much engage picked. So I think they think BLM's going to pick some engage here, but I'm not too sure.
Definitely a safe pick, but doesn't fit the rest of the comp, like you said. Kaisa might have been a pick that would have fit the Rivals comp there.
Of course, Kaisa Blind has its own problems, but BLM doesn't want to have Drakenrich brand out another game, going to secure that victor on R3. Alawi, which was doing so much work in game 1, banned away from Death Knight, won't be able to get that champion again here in game 2.
Yeah, he did get counter pick in game 1, which is surprising based off of side selection. You wouldn't think the top laner would get that, but he did.
MF going to be banned away from Stoic once again. Stoic didn't really have a bad game, just didn't really get to do anything during that match. Urgot going to be banned away from Death Knight, so top lane, the pools are going to be shrinking here for DK. And I wonder if Rivals is going to follow that up with another ADC ban, having secured their own. We will have
Makes
to
a lot
see.
of sense.
Yeah, I wonder, I mean, you expect utility to come out from BLN in ADC, right? Because they already have plenty of damage between the Kindred and the Victor. I wonder if something like a Jhin gonna be, oh, nope. Just gonna be a board ban for Rivals.
Yeah, like you said, a Jhin, an Ashe. That's a lot of slows in the bot lane. If you go double Freljord down there. I expect that they will take their bot laner on this pick. Leave that counter pick for top lane. And Ezreal. Looks like that is going to be the pick right there.
Sorry, I had to step away to give my dog a little space. Ezreal is a really good pick into the Xayah because Xayah can't really interact, you know, unless some hard CC comes out on the Ezreal. If Xayah walks forward, Ezreal just kites back, and Xayah doesn't really get to have fun in the vacuum, the 1v1. Shen gonna be taken away from BLM, and Taric coming out for CB. Interesting choices from Rivals, and this is a comp that we have not so far seen this split.
Yeah, super safe bot lane. Not a lot of kill pressure for that, but also very hard to kill themselves.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how CB uses the Taric ultimate, because the Kindred ultimate will actually give him plenty of time to make sure that ability lands. Cho'Gath going to be the response into Shen. Cho'Gath, I believe, is not a champion that we have seen Tiny Fist of Fury play, but I'm assuming that he has plenty of practice on it. So there are your game 2 drafts. Any initial thoughts, Husky?
I do like BLM's draft here. I think it's a much more balanced draft than last time. 3 damage, 2 frontline. Feels good. Definitely going to be able to take objectives quick with the double marksman. On the other side, a little bit different for Rivals this time. You got 2 champs that want to go in, 2 champs that want to stay back. Shen can kind of go in with them or stay back, whichever is necessary. Yeah, they'll definitely a different style than what both of these teams played last game.
Yeah, I'm curious to see how the Xayah Taric's going to work, because if you look at BLM's side, not a ton of snap engage, and really nothing that Taric can interact with until Braum and Cho'Gath start to close the gap. So we'll have to see how the Taric gets value. I will say it has some nice pairings with the Shen and Jarvan. Going to be able to find the E through some unique avenues with the Jarvan and Shen engage. And really, outside of the I'll call it a questionable ADC pick, but an ADC pick I wouldn't expect for this kind of comp. It's rounded out quite nicely, right? Tark can follow up the engage with the Jarvan, of course, Ori Ball as well. Shen can buff the Jarvan up to make sure that he can withstand some of that, some of the annoying things that Braum offers, as we saw in Game 1. Meanwhile, BLM side, they have a lot of damage, but they just don't have a lot of setup. You know, some poke from Ezreal and Victor, some good damage from Kindred, especially if the Kindred gets going early. But if this team really doesn't start to snowball and choke out rivals in terms of vision, the setup might be hard to pull off around these objectives.
They certainly have very little engage, so they're going to have to get their 2 objectives first. Certainly. I don't know how much, obviously, very into League that you are, but I've been hearing a lot about Halo Blade's Cho'Gath online. It's the most broken thing. It's all over X right now. I want to see Halo Blade's Cho'Gath here. I want to see this work. Not just for the game, I just want to see it. I've been hearing people talk about it, so...
We played into a Halo Blades Cho'Gath in one of our scrims. The build was Halo Blades into Shurelias, into like a whole bunch of tank items, and then maybe even a Hull Breaker. Basically, it was go fast at one character, beat them down with your empowered autos, and then just ult them, and they don't get to do anything. So maybe that's the engage for BLM, is the Shurelia's Halo Blades Cho'Gath. I don't know, though. I will say some of these champions we have not seen from BLM thus far in Sentinel. I don't believe Kama has played a Kindred game. I don't believe Drakenrich has played a Victor game. Ezreal has been piloted by Stoic. The Braum hasn't been shown, but I'm assuming that the bottom laner, the support for BLM, will be able to play that as well. So, diverse champion pools BLM hasn't had to pull out thus far. And we saw maybe some uncomfortableness. I don't know what the word is, but when Drakenrich was forced on that Annie. So now that Drakenrich has a champ that might be a little bit better suited for his playstyle, can BLM overcome maybe some being uncomfortable on these champions they're not used to playing?
Yeah, just looking quickly through people's match history, Kama in the last 3 seasons does not have a rank game on Kindred.
Interesting. So maybe this is something they've been hiding, they've been prepping in the scrims and the in-houses, and now that they're down, backs against the wall, win or lose the series, now's the time for BLM to pull it out. Kindred, of course, does pair really nicely with the Braum in terms of getting aggressive early, getting some picks with that Braum passive. Then, of course, giving Kindred enough space to really do what Kindred wants, which is to chase down some of these champions from rivals. But, Kama was tracked really well by rivals early on in Game 1. We'll have to see if that continues in Game 2. We're going to throw it to a quick break, and then we will see you right back on the Rift. Oh, wait. Two. Welcome back, everybody, to Game 2 of the series matchup between Rivals and Braum Lives Matter. Braum Lives Matter, of course, lost Game 1, opted into red side 2 games in a row, and came out with a wildly different draft than we saw in Game 1. Rivals responded in turn with a pretty different draft of their own. Looking at the runes and summoner spells, Husky, once again, you see anything of note? I guess Stoic has TP. Which is different.
I see no Hail of Blades on the Cho'Gath, and I am deeply offended and saddened by this.
Didn't want to do the tech for us. That's okay, Tiny Fist of Fury. I'm a tank Cho'Gath believer. But BLM backs against the wall. If they lose this game, they will lose the Series 02. If they win, they breathe more life into the series. Gonna make it go 3 games. Salo gonna be spotted out by a ward that was left by BLM. Gonna get a ward on Raptors. Pinged out by BLM, so they do know that Rivals has that kind of information. Now, Kama, I would say, got punished in Game 1 from some unique pathing choices. Do you expect the Kindred to do that again?
I think Kindred's probably going to look more for a full clear than a level 3 gank. We'll see, though.
The level 3...
I would expect that.
I mean, the way that they're pathing, starting the Wolves first, could look to level 3 this bottom lane. I was talking about that pairing with the Braum earlier, but BKs and CB on the Taric and Xayah, respectively, should be plenty of safe to dodge out on that potential gank. Death Knight with a nice taunt into Tiny Fist of Fury. The stun goes wide from CV, but Stoic does take a good chunk of health, taken down to about 50%. Rivals is aware that Kindred is not on the Raptors at the appropriate time, so it'll be interesting to see. Wow! Kama once again opting to back. Stoic forced to flash away. And a great pullback from BK into that chain from CB, forcing the flash from Stoic. So that's a big summoner spell down early on in this one.
Very interesting 2 games in a row from Kama, taking a clear and then instantly backing instead of going to the other side of the map.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I can't imagine that it's the most efficient, right? I feel like you're wasting a lot of time just by backing and walking back out. But it's interesting.
It's about a camp and a half down.
Yeah, it's interesting they did it 2 games in a row. Of course, you know, game 1 they sat a long time on top trying to get something done. DK with a nice little trade onto Tiny Fists of Fury. And I will say these lanes from Rivals have been working out nicely coming out of draft. I was curious to see how the Xayah would work, but we saw the interaction there, forcing the flash out of Stoic after a good feather pull.
Looks like each side is going to get one of the Scuttle Crabs.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate because Kama lost out on the 50-50. The bottom Scuttle Crab was the one with the mark. So Kama on this Kindred, we're going to have to track how well they're able to stack up these marks. You know, 5 stacks is where Kindred starts to come alive, and then, you know, you go 10, so on. I think 12 is like where you're like really feeling good. We'll have to see though. Unfortunate spawn for that first one.
He is backing again now, so 2 backs already by Kama.
Yeah, and it's interesting because they had that vision that was placed towards Big Rev's Gromp instead of trying to play aggressive and steal away that camp. Just gonna match the clear, so both these junglers on opposite timers. CB the Barbarian dodges out from the Braum Q. Gonna be able to find the stun onto Stoic, and Stoic, of course, doesn't have the flash available. Instead, the Braum will soak up some damage, so Stoic able to walk away. It looked a little scary there.
Didn't really lose anything. Both sides pretty close outside that flash.
Death Knight has been trading aggressively into this Cho'Gath. It does get them down to about half health. So the trades, I imagine even if it was Halo Blades, would be favored for the Shen early on. This is kind of just like a repeat of last game where Tiny Fist of Fury was constantly shoved under the tower early on. Jarvan making his way up here. I don't think they're going to dive a Cho'Gath. The wave will be bouncing out though. Orianna is on the way up. The taunt does come through from DK, but Berev wasn't in position to really make something happen. He's coming out onto the grubs in response. Rivals has to know nobody's on the bot side of the map for them, so Dragon's probably going towards BLM.
Yeah. Void grubs for drag. That's...
Yep. Stock standard trade. This time around, it looks like all 3 grubs will be secured by the team that started it. No bad grubs fights for BLM, at least for this first set.
CB did rotate there, so that's going to leave Xayah unable to touch the wave for just a little bit.
And it is a mark that was able to be secured by Kama. Scuttlecrab did spawn in the bottom there. So 1 mark for the Kindred. Now is where it gets hard. CB has to be careful. Going to take a lot of... Oh, well, I thought it was going to be a lot of poke. But once again, a pretty slow early game for both of these two teams. You know, anytime I see a Kindred, I expect the Kindred to really get aggressive early, especially into something like the Jarvan, where they can probably win the 1v1. But Kama, not really his playstyle, apparently. And so we kind of have a snooze cess, once again, 7 minutes into game 2.
Almost every position, about 1 to 5 CS difference.
Ooh, Stoic has to be careful here. The flash, not quite available to him. About to take over. Salo gonna come for unique gank. Will stun up Brute Souls. CB gonna be not stunned up either. Brute Souls doesn't know Salo's here. Salo's gonna get a big ultimate! Huge ultimate from Salo. First blood. Gonna be 2 kills. Shen with the wave shoved able to secure an assist as well with that ultimate. Kama has to be careful. But it looks like the Rivals members will back off. BKs does get the solo play. Kama just here for the wave.
Yeah, good play all around. Shen gets the 2 assists, but is going to lose a good amount top.
Yeah, the ultimate probably unnecessary, right? Because it is going to result in about 2 lost waves and 2 plates going over for Tiny Fist of Fury. So Cho'Gath will get a little bit of a gold lead in response. DK is here though, trading aggressively into the Cho'Gath. BK is trying to bait for CB. I don't think Stoic or Brute Souls knows. Oh, the E went wide though, but the root does come forward. BK's with a great ultimate flash.
Oh, there's the...
The
just
Taric
barely
ult.
missed that.
Just
ult there.
slow, but
I
Stoic
thought he had it.
should go down. Big Rev here with a big ultimate, so that will be Feats of Warfare once again secured by Rivals. Brute Souls flashing towards Kama and Big Rev. Looks like they'll just be able to walk away. Instead, goes in. Gonna force Kama out. I don't know if Big Rev and CB win this.
I don't think they do. That seems questionable.
Was definitely questionable. Drakenrich having to flash away from Salo, but Salo flashing forward.
Ooh,
finds the
big
solo
play by
bolo.
Salo.
So
He was in trouble. He flashes forwards though. Here comes the Ezreal ult. Just misses mid.
Just misses indeed. Death Knight taking Tiny Fist of Fury extremely low. Fist of Fury does have the flash, but Death Knight, oh, Death Knight probably could have gotten that kill. Just needed to tank one turret shot.
Flash for flash.
Kama gonna spot out Big Rev here. Big Rev does have the flash available. Big Rev does not get the knockup, so Kama gonna be favored in this trade. Nobody from Rivals is here to help. Death Knight gonna be here. The flash from Kama. Death Knight, will he follow? He does, and gets the kill. Stunned up is Drakenrich. Not the cleanest kill, but a clean kill nonetheless.
It counts the same in the checkbook checking account.
I will say these roams from Death Knight have put him quite far behind in terms of CS, but with Kama going down, CB up here, should be 6 grubs for this Rivals team, so might look to make up for that lost CS with DK on a strong side lane.
He also has double buffs on Shen. That will feel nice.
Will feel nice indeed. On the bottom side, oh, Drakenrich just found out by Salo. Salo finding a nice ultimate, will be stunned up by the gravity field of a Drakenrich, but doesn't matter. 2 solo kills for Salo Chen in this game.
I think we're seeing now why Salo's Orianna gets banned almost every game. I think this is the first game that it hasn't been banned.
Yeah, in quite some time, BK is going to be able to farm up this CS down in bot line. 6 grubs for Rivals here, and once again, the early game, while not as heavily favored for Rivals like it was in game 1, does go Rivals' way. Death Knight trading aggressively in this Cho'Gath. The Q goes wide. Cho'Gath, of course, does not have flash available, but does have the ultimate, so DK does have to back off after taking a ton of minion aggro. But this Orianna 2-0-2, like you said, very scary. But CB being caught out by Kama and Brute Souls will be stunned up. The ultimate does find its mark, but not enough damage from the three members of BLM. It will force CB to back, however. And so that should be another dragon secured for BLM. I say like should, but he's not backing. A lot of time being wasted. They know that the dragon hasn't been started. So the back. Okay, no back. Interesting. Interesting choice from CB here.
It is hard for BLM to start right now, knowing that Orianna has that prio mid.
Yeah. Looking at the gold lead individually, Orianna, pretty much the gold lead you see for Rivals, 1,000 gold up on the Victor.
Those look like they're starting it now, though.
Shen, despite roaming a lot, about even with this Cho'Gath. The dragon is started up. Salo not back on the map, so they're just going to give the first 2 Drakes once again, which worked out for them in game 1. I will say it's imperative that Rivals starts to use the 6 grubs effectively for this to work out. Otherwise, giving a scaling BLM team the drag stacking opportunity is a scary thought, as Drakenrich chunked once again. Salo, ever the aggressor in mid lane. Doesn't matter what champion you put him on. Kama off to a lot better start than in game 1. This game 2. 2-1-0 on the Kindred. First item coming through. About to camp up on Big Rev as well. So a nice bounce back performance from Kama. BKs and CB got to clear out all these wards that were left unattended.
Bot lane for BLM.
Ooh, big ultimate from Salo Drakenrich. Forced the ultimate, but that's just another solo. Big Rev was here for the follow-up, but was not needed. That's 3 solo kills. 3-0-2 for Salo on this Orianna. Ooh, yeah. Death Knight has to be careful. Kama is here. The E goes wide. Death Knight, that was just sad to watch.
Yeah, sometimes you're just pushed up a little too far.
And I'm going to take a look at Kama here. Did get another stack off of that play. So 2 stacks for Kama and first turret for the side of BLM. So it's a race to the objective feat between these two teams.
Only a 200 gold lead for Rivals right now. Still could go anyway.
Yeah, I will say the team fight from Rivals looks a bit scarier now that this Orianna is ahead. The snap engage from Jarvan, it's going to be... I mean, Kama's going to have to ult early, right? Because if Kama gets CC'd in the Orianna and the Jarvan combo and the ult doesn't come through, that's just probably instant death for that Kindred.
Yeah.
Rich.
This Orianna is definitely getting big.
Shoving the wave, yeah, Ori 20 CS up, or we'll call it 15 BKs on the top side of the map. So Rift Herald going to be the objective for both of these squads. Shen does have TP and the ultimate available. Tiny Fist of Fury is just up here already. Aggressive positioning in this river between both of these teams. So looking to poke out BLM. Tiny Fist of Fury is behind Rivals. Will be spotted out and forced to back away. Both these teams wanted to carve out an advantage here. Like you said, about dead even in gold. A flash forward from CB doesn't result in anything, but an ultimate comes through from Big Rev. Big Rev going to be stunned up by Brussels and immediately taken out by Kama. Drakenrich forced to flash away from BK's. Solution only finds the ultimate on one member of BLM, but the Taric ultimate does come through. Brussels will go down before getting the ultimate off. BK's putting damage into the rest of BLM, forcing the Kindred ultimate out. Kindred does go down. Double kill for Salo. And that is a 2-for-2 trade for both of these squads. And we're right back to square one.
Yeah, it started out pretty well for BLM. Little scuffed engage on Rivals, but Salo so far ahead, able to take down some people rather quickly.
Sailor takes a good chunk of the health bar there. Stoic is here. That means it's just going to be spread XP between the mid and bot laner of BLM. Sailor will back off, and I will say Sailor was able to pick up a couple more kills. 5-0-2 on this Orianna. So while the botched engage did occur, if the engage does land, it's going to hurt.
And
Rivals
we are still dancing.
Immediately back onto this Rift Herald. They knew Kama was forced to ult. They knew Drakenrich was. Of course, Drakenrich ult, not the longest of cooldowns. Tiny Fist of Fury is around. What will happen? Salo caught out. Does find 3 members with a big shockwave flashing out as well. DK going to be able to buy some space for his mid laner. Tiny Fist of Fury is here, and I don't think he can outsmite a Cho'Gath. So the Rift Herald does go down for BLM, and this is a BLM fight for sure. 2 members of Rivals fall, and there's just no follow-up damage. BK is on this Xayah. This is just an ugly fight from Rivals. A consolation prize. Brute Souls does go down, but Victor is behind Salo here. Salo doesn't know. Will kite up, but will ultimately fall. So that was a 5-for-1 and a Rift Herald secured, and that's just not knowing what Cho'Gath is trying to do, which is eat objectives.
Yeah, he did have ult available. It was the only ult available at the time, but it got the Rift Herald.
That does mean Feats of Warfare goes BLM's way. Went the way of Rivals last time, and this is the biggest lead that we've seen of the night for BLM. About 3k up on Rivals here. I don't imagine that they're going to try to steal this dragon, so that will be soul point for BLM as well. So BLM in a very strong spot in game 2.
Throughout this whole series, the Jarvans are having a hard time getting engages. Seems to be the theme in both games so far.
Yep. Seems to be the theme indeed. Salo is here. Drakenrich is going to be just caught out, and not a lot of counterplay you can make happen when you don't have flash. It's going to be another solo kill for Orianna, 7-1 and 2. Drakenridge not having the best of games here in game 2, but overall, BLM in a much better spot than they were in game 1.
Certainly the Orianna is ahead, but if you look on the scoreboard, not many other people from Rivals are.
Yeah, Orianna about 1,600 gold ahead of... Oh, what is this? Rival is just getting an uncontested tier 2. Quick thinking by Big Rev and Salo means that the gold lead will inch ever so closer to being even once again. Only about 1,000 gold separating these two teams now. Looking at the individual gold, Kama much better here in game 2. About 2k up on Rev. Tiny Fist of Fury about 800 up on the Death Knight Shen. Meanwhile, BK's, the fights haven't looked the cleanest from BK's, but he is... We'll call it, 500 gold up. So, not nothing.
You're doing a good job farming in this game.
The tier 2 is the next objective for this BLO squad, but the Herald will go down, so no crash there. 1,500 gold separates these two teams. And it seems like it's just going to be another objective fight that might decide how this game 2 will shake out. Otacon has spawned on the top side. I believe it was the Voracious once again. Maybe I'm wrong. Didn't quite catch it.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think you're correct, but
Death Knight in the bottom lane does have both the TP and the ultimate available. Pings are coming out on that tier 3, but it will be a tall task for this Shen to really do any damage to it, as Big Rev searches for engage, wasn't quite able to find Drakenrich. This might be an overstay from Rev. Doesn't have, oh, does have the EQ. Okay, it does get to safety.
did take a little bit of damage there, but
Rival's just
nothing
bleeding out a
too hard.
wave in top for fun. We're hitting a little bit of a lull. I think both these teams really just want to wait and fight around the next objective, which of course is this dragon coming up in a minute 30.
Otacon on the board, but with it being so close, it is a risk
Yeah.
to try to fight that right now for either side.
Otacon's not a monster you start with all 10 members on the Rift, just because the shred that does come through from that monster basically means that if you start it and can't keep the other team out, you're probably going to end up losing the fight regardless of where the Otacon goes. I will say, I'm pretty sure for the team fights and skirmishes that have developed between these two teams in game 2, whichever team started the fight has lost the fight. So we'll have to see how willing these teams are willing to start another one. The go buttons are in Rival's side. Oh, speaking of go buttons, Death Knight with a nice taunt onto Tiny Fist of Fury. Big Rev is here. Tiny Fist going to be able to flash out and waste some time, but that will be a Cho'Gath that will be taken down to size. I say this, but it got a little dicey. Rev could have gone down to the ultimate there.
Yeah. BLM decides not to send any help, instead send 3 people mid, but don't really do anything with it.
They have the tempo for Dragon, so while Rivals is gonna want to secure the Drake to keep Soul from BLM can just turn their attention onto the Otacon. It looks like Rivals is willing to give the Otacon to make sure that the Dragon Soul isn't secured. And like they're running towards mid, pings are coming out, so Otacon will go down, no contest, and instead a dragon and a tower going to be the consolation prize.
You stop Soul, you get a tower mid. You do get something for it.
Yeah, and if you're looking at the gold, once again, just about dead even. I will say there was a lot of resources used to try to catch out a Tiny Fist of Fury, so we'll have to see how the damage comes through. As he only gets bigger from here. Uh-oh, BK's has to be careful. Not a lot of engage from BLM though, so he feels safe. Trying to meet this wave. It was the Voracious Otacon once again, so GAs are available.
We're really going to see what you can do with those.
Yeah, it'll be interesting though. There's plenty of wave clear between the Orianna and the Xayah though, so far this tower remains untouched. But it looks like Tiny Fist of Fury should be able to knock down this one with a big, well I say it, a big demolish proc. Ooh, nice ultimate from Salo does force the E away from Stoic. Brute Soul is going to go down, of course. It's only the withdraw. The Taric ultimates have just been late. Whoa.
That's
okay.
real.
Flash ulting the wrong way. That's a little tough. The Taric ults need to come out sooner. And that's just facts. Ooh. Flashing away is Drakenrich. Kind of an interesting choice when you realize you do have the withdrawal. So Rivals, despite giving the Voracious Otacon away, has been able to force out the flashes of both the mid and AD carry of BLM, which is a net win, and this tower still stands.
They did have to use their own mids flash to get that, but 2 for 1's good. We take those.
Yeah, and a Victor that doesn't have flash, staring down to Jarvan Orianna. It's going to be imperative the Drakenrich spaces correctly. Death Knight and CB are here, comma. The smite goes Big Rev's way. Tiny Fist of Fury does have the ultimate available. Death Knight has to be careful here. Big Rev going to be able to find the knockup onto Tiny Fist. Comma just says, "You're on your own, brother." But instead, Kama's going to be caught out by Salo. It looks like Salo was able to find a TP behind, and I don't even think Salo needed an ult there. I think a QW auto just does that much damage. 8-1 and 2 on this Orianna.
It's more fun to one-shot people, though, let's be honest.
Pings are coming out on this inhibitor tower for Rivals. BK is playing aggressive into Bruce Souls. Bruce Souls is going to be stunned up by CB on the Taric. Stoic ease on out of there. Doesn't want to be in pull range as well. BK's has a lot of feathers on the map. Gonna look for an ultimate. Gonna pull back. Brute Soul stunned up. The Braum ult goes wide. Does find CB the Barbarian. So CB the Barbarian will be taken down. The flash from Brute Souls actually does not save his life. Goes down in the end. But that's an inhibitor for Rivals as they were, we'll say, buying time mid.
That is an optimistic way to look at things, sir.
Is anybody's game. Slight gold lead for BLM, but an inhibitor means that the map pressure will go Rivals' way. A minute on this dragon. BKs and CB will be both up. The ultimate should be available for CB. I'm not quite sure about the Xayah. Looks like Xayah's going to have, when she spawns, we'll give it a look. But regardless, it feels like this team fight's going to be make or break for either of these teams.
Yeah, BLM should have all of their ultimates up for that dragon, so a lot of tools going to be on both teams' side. And this could be Soul, which would be a big win for BLM if they are able to get that.
Level 16 Cho'Gath with the Soul being Mountain. Doesn't seem like Rivals going to want to let that happen. Big Rev, despite being down in gold, has found a level advantage. Up 1 level onto Kama. BK is going to be poked out. This is not a lane that favors the Xayah. And I wonder if the call is just to go immediately onto the flashless Victor instead. Rivals playing this slow. Kama kind of in a Darius. dire situation, able to back out. Sailor will be spotted out by a blue ward. Drakenrich is on their own. Brutzel is going to take a lot of damage. Brutzel is going to be immediately engaged on. Will find the ultimate onto BKs. The ult does come out from CB, and a taunt from Kama means Kama can't ultimate. Tiny Fist of Fury is here, but the fight has already been lost by BLM. Tons of damage coming out on Sailor, though. Drakenrich has not been touched. Full health, but it looks like BLM might just have to give this dragon. Death Knight going to zone off the members of BLM. Drakenrich, will he join to try to steal the dragon? No. So, soul warded off once again by Rivals.
Yeah, that was a very good objective take from them. They were able to separate the BLM team and pounce on them when they were separated. Drakenrich never really in that fight at all.
So what's interesting is that despite getting the dragon, Rivals has actually lost out on gold because of this inhibitor. So they're actually about 1,500 down as Death Knight is trading aggressively into Tiny Fist of Fury just to stop the back. Baron is up. Tiny Fist will have to back. Death Knight doesn't have TP or ultimate available, so I imagine Salo's gonna take well, maybe they just try to 4-1 because that inhibitor's still down. Who knows?
Only 1,000 gold difference again.
River Prio going the way of Rivals, getting to the objective first. And we saw Big Rev able to catch out Kama last time. Brute Souls. Oh, the Orianna does go, and then Big Rev goes in. I think Rivals just needs to get the heck out of dodge as they wait for the Orianna ult to come off cooldown. And that looks like is what's going to happen.
Yeah, that's their big damage right now, and when you don't hit it, you just don't fight anymore.
Ping's coming out onto this Cho'Gath. Now, if you catch a Cho'Gath on the side of the objective, it's a lot better than trying to do a cross-match catch. Salo doing absolutely nothing to the Cho'Gath, despite being 8-1 and 3. Cho'Gath can look to one-shot instead. Going to be chain CC'd by the Rivals squad. Tiny Fist of Fury going to be taken down. Kama is here, but was not able to get in position to ult. Big Rev, CB, and crew going to back on up. Brute Souls dodging out on the stun from CB, looking for a Q. Misses. Brute Souls taking a lot of damage in return. BK's going to back out. Salo finds a two-man ultimate onto the back line. The ultimate does come through from CB, does save various members, and Salo on the tail end of that fight finds Kama. 3 members down for BLM for 0 for Rivals.
And this entire time, Death Knight pushing through the bot lane right now.
Yeah, the inhibitor does spawn, but it looks like it's just going to go down basically on cooldown as Death Knight does have the ultimate available. Baron has been started by Rivals. Drakenrich is there to potentially poke, but Stoic won't be available. Might just throw an ultimate. And it looks like Rivals is trying to split this map. Let's get the zoomed out Drakenrich. Wow, that's a big shield for BKs from Shen. Drakenrich doing his best, but winning out on both sides of the map, forcing the flash is Big Rev with the Jarvan ult. And Big Rev and Death Knight, we talked about the lack of engage from BLM. They're just going to be able to walk out for free. Rivals gets away with a heist.
Neither team able to get to the objective when the other team gets there first. Rivals is able to get there after the pick. And they're going to take the Baron. Get the reset. 10, 1, and 4 of this Orianna.
Yeah.
Other than the Cho'Gath, I think he can one-shot everyone, even the Braum.
Probably. And it's interesting to note, despite what seems like every play for the last little bit going Rivals' way, the gold is still about dead even. Now, of course, they do have Baron buff at their disposal. And inhibitor is down. It looks like a 4-1 is starting to develop, with Rivals starting to push in the mid lane.
Looks strange with Ezreal being there all alone, but once again, he does have teleport, but it's on cooldown, so Ezreal not going to be with the team if there is a fight going on.
Rivals playing cool, calm, collected, making sure their waves are matching. About as good as you can expect for a Sentinel team. Tiny Fist of Fury looking for an engage, but the lack of engage really hurting BLM. Meanwhile, on top side, DK gonna be able to push in this wave for free. I will say the a great ultimate comes through. Drakenrich immediately taken out, Kama unable to ult his mid laner. A great use of the Taric ult from CB. That's 2 down for BLM. Kama forced to flash away, but will ultimately use the ultimate and will go down in the process. This should be a 5-4-0 for Rivals, and that's game 2.
Great way to end the game, guys.
Rivals gonna march it down through both the mid and bot. They're going for the total win, making sure nothing stands in the base of BLM. And what a convincing 2-0 victory for this Rivals squad.
Like we like to say, it was close until it wasn't.
It really was, right? It was basically even up until that last fight. The engage from Big Rev followed up by Salo and CB. BK's doing his thing, autoing over the top. And my oh my, the dominance of Sector 1 over Sector 2 continues. Husky, I mean, what do you make of this series? Is BLM overrated? Is Rivals just that good?
Ooh, I think it might be a little bit of both. BLM had some bright points, but they didn't beat the cream of the crop over there. So, are they one of the best teams? I'm not so sure. Rivals, I think we finally started to put some things together here. We saw some great jungling again by Big Rev. Salo, he's just going to do great every game. I really liked seeing Death Knight this series, though. He really asserted his dominance game 1. Game 2, very similar, especially at the start. I like to see that when we're winning every lane. It's going to be hard to beat us.
Yeah, great showing from DK being solid in the top lane. Tiny Fist of Fury didn't get much going either of those games. Like you said, Salo putting out a ton of damage on the Orianna. But BKs, I mean, talk about BKs in the CB lane. The Taric I was not ready for, but both of these bot lane duo pairings really stepping up. BKs, of course, coming off of being an off-roll top laner, and CB going through it seems like his 10th ADC pairing. Had gone off without a hitch, a good showing into Stoic and Brutals as well. Really a dominant performance for all 5 members of Rivals. For BLM, they do fall for the first time in Sentinel. Will be interesting to see if these 2 teams actually match up once again in Rivals Week. We'll have to wait for the rest of the results to come through there to try to figure it out. We're going to throw it to a quick intermission because I think an ad break is going to come up, and then we'll have Big Rev in for an interview right after. We'll be right back. Okay, I'll restart. CB, there might be something to this. Uh, my name is Righteous. I'm joined with Husky and the jungler of Rivals, Big Rev. Rivals, of course, coming off of a 2-0 victory over BLM. Um, Big Rev, of course, congratulations on your victory. And I want to lead this interview off with a simple question. Is BLM a good team?
Um, First off, thank you for the, congratulating me. Honestly, when you had told me that this was the first, like, top mid and the sixth best jungler, I was going into it thinking, oh, this is going to be an actually hard match for once. I was disappointed. Time and time again. He took the Jarvan, I think was 1 in 10 by the end of it. He counterpicked me, still lost. Pretty hard. So, no, I don't think BLM is that good of a team. I think they had some good moments, but they got a lot to work on, especially when my homie CB is vision gapping enemy support by almost 42 vision by the end of game 2.
There you have it. Big Rev might think BLM is a tad overrated. Talking a little bit more about that jungle and mid lane matchup, we, of course, prepped a little bit for what seemed like the Drakenrich show. BLM kind of faltered once Drakenrich, the pool started to shrink a little bit, especially in game 1. Game 1 was very dominant. Game 2 was back and forth and close until it wasn't. You know, for BLM, you said they have to improve. What would be your words of advice for them?
Honestly, I think they took a lot of dumb fights, and they also gave up a lot of stuff when they were ahead that they didn't really need to give up. They could have put more pressure on the map, especially when I think at one point we were down like 3k gold, which, I mean, isn't a lot, but when it's on the characters it needs to be, like the Kindred and the Ezreal, you can definitely kind of throw your dick around and, like, just turn that small lead into something bigger, which we showed game 1 that we can and are willing to do. Honestly, I think role by role, we were just better players, and therefore we won more.
There you go. Husky.
Uh, Now, I'm not sure if you had full vision of what the other jungler was doing in these games, but both games he three camped and backed, and in game 2 he three camped backed, three camped backed. Um, I was kind of confused by that, and you definitely took advantage getting an early lead in the jungle. But what are your thoughts on why he would be doing that? Because as an ADC main, I was confused by it.
So, I'd heard that happen on Jarvan, which makes sense. He went 3 camp, like, looked for gank failed, reset, because by the time you reset, like, by the time it takes you to walk from the top side of the map to your bot camps, you can just reset and walk back in that same amount of time, almost. But now that I'm hearing that he did it on Kindred twice, I'm a bit confused. Kindred's very much a champion that can, like, clear very fast. At least it's an unhealthy clear early, but I've played it. It's not a slow clear by any means, and she's very much a champion that wants to snowball, like, early. So I'm a bit confused as to why she would, like, ruin her tempo by resetting twice after only 3 camps.
Yeah, your guess is as good as mine. Talk to me a little bit about the decision in game 2 to give up Otacon, and instead fight for the dragon and then an eventual inhib. Did you know that the way BLM was playing, that kind of hesitancy, that they weren't really going to do anything with that buff?
Um, which buff again?
The Otacon. So you guys gave Otacon, got Drake, got some pressure bot, and then they really didn't do anything with it.
I mean, as I said earlier, they weren't, like, willing to play aggressive enough with their leads. Like, when we got Otacon game 1, we just started A-ramming mid tower. I don't know why they just decided to let the wave hit tower. Otacon is, like, the full, like, just press go. It doesn't matter if I die button, because I'm going to reset, like, literally a second later and only give you 100 gold. So I think I think they're way too passive, which is a bit confusing because they like to draft, like, at least game 1 it was like a really aggressive draft with the Annie J4. So I'm just a bit confused as to why they changed it up game 2 and played, like, super passive when they were ahead.
Yeah, I'm not sure either. Husky, any more questions for Big Rev while you still got him here?
Game 2, how good did it feel that you were the one eating all the bans and not Salo for the first time this
I mean,
season?
me and Salo have proved you can ban us out. I mean, Salo caught, I think it was 4 bans last game. Still was the MVP. I caught 3 bans this game. I just stole that guy's jungler. He sucks. Like, it's not that hard. You
There
ban
it
three
is.
tank junglers. There's a fourth one and a fifth one I'm willing to play. Stop banning tanks, guys. Not worth it.
There
I
you
love it.
go. Some fighting words from Big Rev. Big Rev, before we let you go, anything you'd like to shout out? Anybody specifically you want to give a little spotlight to?
Honestly, shout out BK's. He bought a blue ward without me having to tell him. So like, it's progress. Shout out CB for like all of the amazing vision, and DK had some amazing fucking channels. Also, Salo, thanks for doing your job. I guess solo carrying the game until we can like stabilize, but like, who cares?
All right, Big Rev, appreciate the interview. Once again, congratulations on the 2-0. Last question for you. There's a chance, depending on how things went between Sector 1 and Sector 2, their division games, you might face this team again next week. Do you expect the same result?
I will dominate them.
All right.
That's all.
There
Love
you
to
have
hear
it.
that.
Mic drop. Okay, Big Rev, thank you so much. You have a great rest of your evening. Enjoy the win. And there you had it. The jungler for Rivals. Husky, it's been a fun one. I know you're wishing for, a whole full 3-game series to keep casting late into the evening. It didn't happen. But I appreciate you being here. It was fun as always. Husky, you got anything to say to these fine people?
I think that we opened a lot of eyes this week. BLM undefeated coming in, Rivals, 2-0, show that we belong at the top of the heap.
There you go. Husky, words of praise for this rival squad. I've been righteous. That was Husky. Sentinel Week 3 has concluded. Rivals picking up the 2-0 win over BLM. We will see you again on Monday. Our last shout out, once again, I didn't do my job. I don't have the graphic for it, but we do have the Rivals Bash, the Heartbreaker Bash on Friday, 8 Eastern, 7 Central. It's been fun. Husky, are you to be there? Are you participating again? What's going on with you?
No one has asked me to be on a team. I don't know. I don't know why,
They're
but I
missing out
mean,
the ADC GOAT.
I'm still a free agent. I can jump on the cast. I'll be there one way or the other.
Sweet. We're looking forward to it. Will be fun. We got some surprises. Everybody should let me know how y'all liked the overlay. Changed it a little bit for these games. Might do something similar for that. Either way, it was a good week. It's always good to win 2-0 and prove some doubters wrong. So without further ado, we hope you enjoy the rest of your night, and we will see you back here again on Friday, not Monday. Y'all have a good one.